Now to medicate our oil in our magical butter machine. We have the lid taken off, and so you can see inside of the magical butter machine there are two lines, a minimum line and a maximum line. The minimum line is 2 cups, the maximum line is 5 cups. Today we're going to go up to the minimum line ourselves, so we're going to add 2 cups of vegetable glycerin is what I've chosen to use. This is going to be used in the salve instructional. So we'll dump this in. Then we'll take our cannabis, and that'll help get us up to the minimum line. And I don't grind it up very much when I'm going into the magical butter machine because of the agitation. And as everything hasn't been mooshed down yet, I'm not overly worried that we're not at the minimum line. If you're just right under it, you're okay. So let's go ahead and get the lid on. We're plugged in, so we have the lights on. Just here so a little bit so you can see. Okay, I like to go for 130, the minimum temperature. There is no heat, 130, 160, 190, and 220. So I like to go for the minimum heat myself for 8 hours. The hours are 1, 2, 4, 8, and a clean setting. So we're gonna let this sit and warm up for a bit so you can just hear what it sounds like when it gets running if you haven't used yours yet. But just to let you know that the magical butter machine isn't the only option to medicate your oil. There are other machines, and if you look below, I have a list so you can check it out and compare what what are the features you're looking for, because everybody has their personal preferences. This happens to fit what I do best, and so I like to use it. It also happened to be the machine that was at the dispensary, and so initially, of course, that's why I got it. But I do like this machine. I do prefer it, but check out the other machines because you may prefer another one for another reason, another host of reasons. So leave yourself open to it. What I say isn't the only way to do things. This is just an example of an option that is out there. And that is what the magical butter machine sounds like when it's starting to run. We'll be back in 8 hours to strain our magical butter machine. And there you have the sound of when it's done. So let's go ahead and get everything strained. And so let me get my bowl and my storage container, and we'll get everything out of the magical butter machine. So let's go ahead and get the lid off. See everything, here you see everything dripping off. And we're setting our lid on a paper towel, again to avoid drips. Let's take a look at what it looks like down here inside after everything has been churning the last 8 hours. Beautiful. Okay. Let's rearrange to strain. We will get this strained. Get our bowl here with our strainer for the magical butter machine that came with it. We'll get that set up. Let's go ahead and dump it through. It's nice to do right after because the vegetable glycerin is still warm. If you don't do it right after, if you wait till the next morning or until it's cooled down, just set it back to 130 degrees for an hour. And let it warm up between 5 and 10 minutes, and then it will pour like it is right now. If we get this out of the way so you can see. Okay. Look at this beautiful color. I'm really proud of my plants this harvest. This was just a test run. And they turned out well. Okay. This vegetable glycerin, while being made for our salve course, is also being made to medicate water. Vegetable glycerin, I like to medicate my bottles of water with it because it mixes really well. Oil tends to sit and float at the top, whereas vegetable glycerin, while it's an oil, it tends to mix a bit better. So I like to use it in my waters to sip on throughout the day to get those cannabinoids flowing throughout my system. All right, it looks like we basically have everything out of here. And the last thing we want to do is preserve our strain bits. Our strain bits are mark or our sludge. There's a variety of names. But we want to preserve that for future use. So as we did the first go round, we're going to want to get a baggy lined cup handy to dump our strain bits, mark, sludge into. So we will put this aside right in our magical butter machine, and you can see this beautiful color we have with our vegetable glycerin, no longer clear at all. We're going to get our jar and just pour it directly into our storage container. I like using this bowl because of the little spout on the side. Makes it a bit easier. All right. So we have a full jar of medicated vegetable glycerin. Just beautiful color. Props to the plants. Now, what did we fail to mention when we were prepping our station initially? A baggy lined cup for our strain bits or mark or sludge. And so now what we're going to do is grab the strainer from our magical butter machine and scrape up the bits at the bottom of this strainer. Before I do that, perhaps we can get a visual here. So you can see what's down at the bottom. And we want to scrape that up. We'll use our spatula here and try not to click everything. And dump it in. So we'll scrape everything down. Dump it in. And we'll scrape out the magical butter machine. So that we're left with all of these goodies to use in the future with cooking or baking, topicals, just a multitude of uses we can find. So let's get our jar and our vegetable glycerin before I knock it over here. Okay, and make sure, as we mentioned in the stovetop medicated oils course, to label your baggie with a strain, cultivator, processing date, any other tidbits you might want to remember for the future. And then otherwise, we are set. Let's shine a little light on this beautiful product. I think this might be some rich goodness to use in our upcoming salve instructional course. All right, I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson.